Switch it to export, which gives you the traditional record box layout interface, and performance gives you the performance interface. And then you have access to your effects right here, and you can actually switch out the effects through any selection effects that they give you. So it doesn't have to be the same 3 effects every single time. C effects, actually, you can access the onboard effects to the mixer. And you can change that. Say like you could change. So it doesn't have to be like on the hardware it says space. It doesn't have to be space if you don't want it to be. You can actually change it. I actually changed it to noise because I love using the noise effect. On there. And now the way you can change it is you put to user. I'm sorry, to the was it? Yeah, user, and hit edit, and select the desired trigger button you want to change the effect to, and that's how you change the effect. Sampler, here are all your sample banks. You can access your sampler through here, and then your mixer gives you access to. Can someone turn that down? Okay, and if by clicking the mixer tab, I have a layout on my mixer right here, the interface on the interface. But you know, with the hardware right here, you know, sometimes you don't necessarily need to do that. And of course your record button, so you can actually record your sets on there as well. Now if you go to the top here, you can switch the deck layout. So you could do 2 deck horizontal, you could do 2 deck vertical, 4 deck horizontal, 4 deck vertical, or focus more on your browsing playlist. Now if you go to the preference button right here, this gives you all your configurations and settings. Now if you click on audio and the buffer size right here, when you put if I put it all the way minimal, that actually reduces the lag, especially on the jog wheel, especially if you're doing any scratching or anything like that. Your control settings, you can you have different tabs from your, what's up? Oh wow, did you hear that? Okay, just if you are, because this mixer is not officially out in stores yet, but it is being shipped this month, and you can pre-order it. And now, not just this mixer, but any piece of Pioneer gear, if you pre-order it now, it's 15% off, just so you know. Not the mixer though. No? Everyone got their hopes up. But, you know, with the RZ, with the XDJ 700, the RX, 15% off when you pre-order, just to give you a heads up. Okay, getting back to the preference settings. It's including the S. Yeah, including the S9. Did you hear that? 15% off the S9 if you pre-order it today.
15% from the price that we see online?
Yes. 15% off. Okay. On the controller tab, if you notice, you got different tabs here. You got your presets for your deck. You can eject or lock your eject button, so you don't override the track that you have currently playing. Your needle lock, so meaning that you can actually lock the needle strip bar. So if if you have a track playing, you can't accidentally compromise the track that's playing, but I usually leave it on lock because I like to needle drop certain places all the time. But that's just depending on your preference. Memory cue call, lock, your load settings. You can set your track. So when you load your track, it starts at the first hot cue you saved on there. And the knob, if you notice the knob on the hardware on the upper right-hand side of the deck, you can actually preset this knob to load your tracks too, rather than just using the load button that's underneath it. That's your deck tab. Now your mixer tab, you got you can curve your up and down faders with it. Your crossfader curve, you actually have a physical hard knob here on the front of the deck to adjust your curve knob. Your auto gain, you can enable or disable that. Here's your effects, apply release effects on CFX, or in your CFX effects, you can apply the CFX to sample using mixed color control knobs, so meaning that you can use the silver knobs located on top of the faders. Your samplers, you can lock or unlock the loading so you don't override your samples by accident. Capture, this is basically where you bring out your samples through the browsing in your files in your computer. You can select check this box here, says do not overwrite the loaded slot. Loaded location of a bank for slicer capture. You have either up to 1, 2, 3, or 4 banks, depending on where you want to put it. And auto panel mode, you can enable or disable that. And quantize value, you can set how many beats for the sequencer on here. And of course your recordings, you can select the location, folder location of where you want your recorded set to save into. And that is your controller settings. Keyboard settings, you can change all your presets here. Advanced database browse, this is where you can access your iTunes library. And if you go to browse, you can actually tag your tracks. Basically you can put a color coded tag on your track, so tagging your tracks is pretty useful for some people because it helps them remember a specific track they actually like playing at one set, and sometimes they'll forget what track they were playing, and this is a good way to remember it. And then of course right here is your licensing key. So when you buy the software, you can download for free, and it's a 30-day trial. But if you buy the license, this is where you add the licensing key. Or you can buy the license through the software. Just go to the preferences, click on the license tab, and there's a button that says buy license key. And when you buy the license key, the software is yours for life. And you can insert that key up to 2 computers. If you have a backup computer with the same software, you can put the licensing key in that computer. So that's your preferences right there. Getting back to the interface, you have your display of your pads here, just like it's basically mirrored. The controller is mirrored to its identically laid out the way it is on the interface itself. So you have your display of your pads right here, just like on the hardware. Your different banks for your specific pad. Here's your pad effects.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Your slice.